Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. Welcome to Comic Book Wednesday, and welcome to something really special today. Over here we have Marvel Legends 80th Anniversary Thor. Over here we have retro card back, not so much an anniversary, just putting it out there, the original Hercules. And right here we have one of the centerpieces, one of the jewels of my comic book collection. This is the Mighty Thor, 126, 12 cents, if you can believe such a world. This is the first comic to ever say the Mighty Thor. Before this, it was Journey into Mystery, and then 125 was Journey into Mystery, 126 was the Mighty Thor. First time the comic had turned into that, so technically it's the first issue of the Mighty Thor. And what can you see right here on the front? You can see the original Thor, and you can see the original Hercules. This I got at RetroCon, if you remember. I had that in the haul video. Check that out right there. This just came in over the weekend. I knew this was coming. I was kind of waiting to open this up to go along with this, mainly because of this. Plus, I also kind of want to do a comparison. New versus old. See how things have changed. See if there's much of a difference. I'm really hoping they're about the same size, because if Hercules is taller than Thor, But if you remember, I'm actually creating like a display for this downstairs in my living room, and I have Loki opened up, and I have a few other figures that I'm going to be putting around it, but I was waiting for these two specifically because you need these two to go with this. So we're going to be opening up both of these. We're going to be taking a look at both of these. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. You're Thor? Well, it hurts. Okay, the first one we're going to take a look at is Thor right here. And first of all, I love the packaging for the 80th anniversary figures. There were only 3, I think. Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. And I think there was an exclusive release of a Hulk somewhere. I can't remember. I'm not that into Marvel Legends, but I definitely wanted this Thor for the display, especially because this one has his original look, which we'll take a look at once we get him out of here. But I also really, really like this packaging. With the original Mighty Thor logo down here, just a simple black packaging, this red pin line going around the window so you can see inside, see what you're getting. On the side here, some really good artwork of Thor on the side. Same thing, just flipped on this side. Really good artwork up here. Let's bring this up closer. I really like that one. Oh, focus in. I really like that image. You got Thor, Loki, a bunch of people. Odin up here. The Warriors 3, not really sure who that is. Oh, that's Giant Man. Those are the Avengers. Never mind. Okay. And right here, it says, a mighty Asgardian, Thor is the god of thunder and the son of Odin, king of the Asgardians. He wields the hammer Mjolnir and has the power to call lightning from the heavens to strike down his enemies. This is some great packaging here. On the top, it's just black. On the bottom, legalese. So, that's the packaging. Let's get this open, and let's take a look at our god of thunder, the Mighty Thor. Okay, taking a look at Thor first. Here he is out of the box. Thor, Odin's son, Prince of Asgard, the god of thunder. And the look of this, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this is probably going to be very biased for Thor, but it doesn't really matter because he's the older one. He's been around for a while, and most of you have probably seen reviews of this figure already by now anyway. More than likely much more impartial than what I'm going to be, because for me, this is my childhood come to life. I've never seen a Thor like this that looks like he came right out of the 80s comics, the comics that I first started reading. Thor was actually one of the first comics that I read one of the first Marvel comics that I read when I started collecting comics, and I just love this look. This speaks to me so much. It's just beautiful. So before I go on any further, let's put the tape measure to him. We'll see how tall he is, and we see that to the top of his helmet, to the top spike of his helmet right there, he is 7 1/4 inches tall, almost 7.5 inches tall to the top of the feathers. So that is pretty impressive right there. Thor is a big boy. I can't see Hercules being taller than him. He's probably going to be about the same size. But enough about that. Let's take a closer look at him, and we'll see what his sculpt and his articulation and all of that fun stuff is. Okay, this is definitely one where it was form over function, because some of the articulation definitely suffers for the sake of the sculpt. And I really feel like that with these 80th anniversary figures, they were going more for a comic accurate look than they were worried about the articulation of it. Because first of all, let's take a look at these blonde locks right here. These are kind of stiff, which is surprising because this was definitely a time when hair was more pliable on the Marvel Legends. And you can see that it really comes down in the back. Look at that, though. That looks great. But that really doesn't give you any head movement at all. He can turn side to side a little, but he's not going to do a full 360. And there's pretty much no up or down to it at all. And there's no side to side. So pretty much this position, Goldilocks looking forward, that's pretty much the position that it's going to be. The rest of him, though, is pretty impressive. That his arms, you see, can come up past 90. They'll do a full 360. He has the bicep swivel right here. He has double jointed elbows that even with these guns, he gets some really great travel out of it. His wrists swivel and hinge. This one hinges in and out, but his right hand, his hammer throwing hand, hinges up and down, which is just as it should be. Now he has some great ab crunch in here. Let's get these arms out of the way. He has some great ab crunch in here that he can really crunch forward and he can really crunch back. And I really like that. And it doesn't even look that bad, to be honest, whenever he is all the way back. Like, because they continued some texturing and the paint, like, it just looks like his tunic is being pulled up a little bit. Same thing in the back. And I really dig that. And he can also get some twist right there at the ab crunch, but he also has a waist twist, but that just doesn't look right. So he does have a waist twist, but I kind of prefer the ab twist myself. His legs can come forward, but it's one of those deals where the legs will come forward and they go out to the side. His legs go back, not too much. He does have a thigh swivel right in there. He has double jointed knees, and once again, for as beefy of a boy as Thor is, he has some great travel in the knees. He has a boot cut, which I don't get why they put it down here, and they didn't put it here at the top of the boot, but that is what it is. It kind of looks a little funky when you turn it sometimes, though. And also, mine is gapping a little, and these are really soft. You can pull this off, and I might try and shave some of that down just to get a tighter fit. I'm not sure. But ankles go back, ankles go forward, and a forward-facing pin for rock. So he has all of the articulation that we've come to expect from a Hasbro figure. I can't really speak to Marvel Legends because, as you know, I don't have a whole lot of Marvel Legends, especially not this type. Now, if we take a look at the sculpt, like I said, this is definitely form over function, and I don't have a problem with that because this face looks great. This face looks great for an 80s comic accurate face, and the coloring of his hair, like this honey golden blonde in the hair, the two-tone of the helmet where you have this marbleized, shiny metallic helmet, and then these silver white wings on the helmet. In the back, his locks are coming down, and I really like that. And this is one thing I really like, that they lifted the cape up off of his shoulders, just like in the comics, and it droops down in the back. I really, really appreciate that. And while we're at the back, just look at the molding of this cape. Now, this is a big plastic candy shell cape. There's no give to it. It's pretty much stuck in this swooping position, and it's molded really well. However, this is one of the big issues of Thor, because when you set him down, it's very heavy. You have to lean him forward. Okay, let me move him back a little bit. You have to lean him forward, otherwise he's going to fall. And even once you do get him leaned forward, you can see that he kind of... Whoop, don't spread. You can see that the cape weighs him at the ab crunch, and he tilts to the side. Now, you'll be able to work around that. You'll be able to get some poses out of that. That's not a problem. It's just an annoyance. Now, I do know that there is a really great, like, dark red velvet cape that you can get for him, that you pop this off and you put it on, and it still has the flare that comes up, and it looks good, it has a wire in it, and it doesn't weigh him back. I might get that for this guy. Up front, we sort of took a look at that the front of him when we were looking at the ab crunch, and these silver discs, the T on the belt. This whole thing is just comic book. I love it. This dark black tunic, and then coming down to these dark blue leggings of his, and even in the leggings, you can see like the veins and the muscles popping underneath the leggings, and that is fantastic. That looks really great. I know, I'm just gushing about this thing. Whoops. I have been wanting this guy for so long that I am just excited to have him. And even with the gapping in the boots, it still doesn't take away from the look of the wraps and these big knee pads that are coming up from it. And these little tassels, these little buckles, tassels, whatever you want to call them there on his boots. Everything is so comic book, and I love it. It looks great. He looks great. I just wish the cape wasn't so freaking heavy. You can see even when I'm just holding him, it wants to tilt him to the side. Taking a look at accessories, Thor comes with the set of hands that are on him, which we have a gripping hand here from Mjolnir, and we sort of have like a clutching, I am Thor hand, but he also comes with one other hand, and that is this closed fist to put on his left hand here. Now, to swap it out, it's just like any other one, where you just pop this off, but these bracelet pieces are a separate piece. So be careful of that when you pop the hand off, so it doesn't go flying off and you don't lose it to the carpet monster or anything. And then you just pop that on there, and he has a clenched fist as well as an open fist for gripping Mjolnir. And that brings us to Mjolnir itself, and this is another reason why I wanted this version of Thor, because before we get to like just how good Mjolnir looks, well, let's just get to how good Mjolnir looks with these dimples in the stone and the weathering on it, the ring up top, the wooden handle, and even this tassel that you can actually fit around his wrist so he can hold it in a throwing position. But this is one thing that I absolutely loved. Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. I love that they sculpted that into the hammer. As far as I know, this is the only Marvel Legends figure that actually has the inscription written on the hammer, and as soon as I saw that, I knew this was the Thor I was going to get. Hercules! Hercules! Alright, here we go. The new Marvel Legends Hercules in the vintage card back just came in from Hasbro Pulse, and I am going to be ripping this thing open. This is the first Marvel Legends figure I've received that has this card back, this classic card back going to it. Love the comic accurate, the old vintage comic accurate Hercules on the side here. Big blister bubble for Hercules. Honestly, I don't know why they just don't do all of the Marvel Legends on these card backs like this. I think it looks great. I think it would be great for display for people that want to keep it in the packaging. I get that with the boxes, you can open it, play with it, and put it back in the box, but I'm surprised they don't just go completely to this packaging here. On the back, we have that same image. Hero of Olympus, Hercules uses his mythic strength to prove he is worthy of immortality. So there's not a whole lot going on in the packaging. It's very simple packaging, lets the figure speak for itself. So let's just rip this open. Yes, I'm going to open it. I know a lot of people don't open these, but I'm going to rip this thing open, and we're going to take a look at Marvel Legends Hercules. All right, friends, here he is, Hercules, out of his packaging. And we have two big beefy boys here on the show today, because Hercules, much like Thor, has a lot of weight to him. There's a lot of plastic right here. So the first thing we'll do is we will put the tape measure to him, and we see that Hercules comes in at just under 7 inches tall, maybe 6 7/8, and that means he is going to be shorter than Thor, which I'm okay with. Now, we're going to take a little bit more time with Hercules here, because he is the newer one. I know I kind of rushed through Thor, but like I said, the figure's so old. The figure's a few years old. I'm pretty sure most of you who are into collecting have seen him already. I just wanted to pull him out and show him off because I was excited about having him. But but Hercules is new to all of us. So let's take a closer look at him, and we'll see what the line of Olympus has to offer. Okay, right off the bat, starting with the head, we can see that he has better articulation up here than Thor does, because he can really look back and he can really bury the chin and look forward. He can do a full 360 head rotation, but there's not any tilt going on, and that's because when you pop the head off here, you can see it's just a ball joint on a hinge right here. And there's not, and when it's down on that thick neck of his, there's not a whole lot of room to play. All right. Now the arms are also kind of chunky, that he doesn't really get. He's so swole, he doesn't really get his arms up to even 90. They come to right about there. But we do have a bicep swivel, and they will do a full 360. He has double jointed arms, but he's a little bit beefier in the bicep right here, that he doesn't have nearly as good of travel as Thor did. And he has pivoting wrists, and swiveling wrists, and they pivot in and out. All of his hands, whether they're his gripping hands or the fists that we'll see later, whether it's the left or whether it's the right, they all pivot in and out, which is unfortunate for when he's holding his mace, and we'll take a look at that in a minute too. Now with Hercules, he doesn't have that same type of ball joint, that ab crunch joint that Thor does. He has a more traditional just pivot. He can really crank back, he can really crank forward, but if you're going to turn him, he only turns at the waist. Now he does have that problem where the waist just travels right around, and you would get that big cut back here. But this belt is plastic. This belt is very soft, that normally it seats right about there, right about the midline. But when it turns, it rides up, and it kind of helps to hide the fact that he has these uneven proportions on his hips. So that's cool, and I like this, and we'll take a look at the texture, that this even looks like fake leather, this plastic right here, the way that it's textured. I really like that. His legs will come out, his legs will go forward, better than Thor's will. They'll also, they only come out to there on the side, so, they go back. He does have a thigh swivel, just like, he's not wearing much, so they can't really hide it. So it's going to have to be right there on his leg. He has double jointed knees, and that lower joint really sticks. He has some pretty decent travel, and you can also see that he has pinless legs, and that's really cool. I think this is the first figure I have that has pinless legs. So that's cool. I like having that. And he has a boot cut, or rather a sandal cut, right there. And ankle goes back, ankle goes forward, and a forward-facing pin for rocker. Now, what's interesting to me is that, and I don't know if this is something that's inherent to Marvel Legends, but when I was playing around with him and trying to get his leg to double joint, because that bottom one really sticks. I don't know if you even saw that, but his boot cut started coming apart. This is really soft too, so be careful of that might pop off. And we saw how easily Thor's came off. I don't know if that's an issue with Marvel Legends, because I don't collect that much of it, but I thought that was interesting that both of them have that issue with the boot cut. Now, taking a look at the face sculpt, Hercules has always had a big, toothy, white smile, so I don't have issue with that, because both heads, and you'll see this one on him later, both heads have these big, toothy, either grin or grimace. So that was inherent to him in the comic, so I don't have a problem with that. It's just that this face, his happy face, he looks drunk. And truthfully, that's totally in character for Hercules. I don't know if he's supposed to look drunk or not, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I definitely think he looks drunk. But the face sculpt is really well done on here. I love the roguishness in his mustache. How, I don't know if you can see, if I bring it up, how, the ends kind of twirl out a little bit. And this loose mop of hair. I love this. This is, along with this older version, the older version of Thor, this older version of Hercules is definitely one of my favorite looks. And this harness right here, this is a piece of plastic. This isn't molded to the body. This is an accessory, or rather, this is a separate piece. Won't come off. There's no way to unclasp it, but I do like that. I just wish that they would have maybe put additional paint app on it, so that these rivets would have been golden to match his headdress, the big H on his belt, and his bracelets. But that is what it is. Now the belt It's ridiculous to gush over something like a belt, but I think they did a really good job on the belt, that the texture, the feel, the look of it feels like thick leather, and I really like that, and the H carved in, molded in like a clasp, I really like that as well. There's not much else to look at because he just has basically these green trunks here. You got some nice wrinkles going on there. And then his legs, fairly featureless. Now, when you come up to the chest, you can see that they painted in chest hair and hair on his shoulders, down on his arms, that Hercules is a pretty hairy boy. Now, I'm surprised that his legs are smooth, that they didn't put some thigh hair on here to match the rest of him. I'm actually surprised about that. And also, if you look down here, the paint on his ankles here doesn't quite match up to the rest of his legs, or his toes for that matter. It's a little bit darker, it's a little bit more yellow. I don't know, maybe that's just mine, but it's not quite the same color. And that is a little annoying, but I'll have to learn to live with that. Now, as far as like the sculpt and everything goes, the only real complaint with the sculpt that I have is right here. I know a lot of the classified figures do this, and I know a lot of the Marvel Legends figures do this with this hinged ab crunch right here. I really, really prefer like that ball jointed ab crunch like that was on Thor and that McFarlane uses on his figures. This cut into the mold, that's ugly to me. And in classified, it kind of is hidden because they're wearing uniforms, they're wearing clothes. You don't notice it as much, especially if they're wearing a heavy vest and it's just covered entirely. But with Hercules here, bare-chested, like it really stands out, especially when you crank him back like that, if you wanted to do anything like that. Pushing him forward doesn't... Oh, but you got that big gap right there, too. And I understand that's in the back, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of this type of ab crunch right here. Now, for accessories, Hercules does have two heads. He has this head, his happy head, his drunk head. And he has this secondary one that's more of a meaner look, more of a more serious look. Like this is the look that he would have while he's wrestling Thor or while he's going into battle. I got very lucky, I got very fortunate that both of them, the eyes on mine, both of them are pretty straight on. I like that. And like I said, this big toothy grin, this big toothy smile or grimace is very, very, very Hercules for this time period. Hercules comes with two sets of hands. He has his gripping hands that are on the figure by default. And he comes with a pair of clenched fists just for, fisticuffs. Now, just like Thor, if you pop his hands off here, these bracelets also come off, just like the Thor figure, but they're a very soft rubber, and they stick. They stick in much better because they're bigger, they're gummier, and I don't feel like if you pop a hand off, they're just going to go flying off. So they do stick in there better than the smaller bracers on Thor's wrists. The only other accessory that it comes with is his mace, and this was always a unique mace to me. And I gotta admit, I'm not a big fan of this mace. I think it's too short. I think they should have had it longer, and I get what they were doing, especially at the time. They were trying to give Hercules something akin to Mjolnir, because, hold on, let me grab it. Even if you look at these, if you look at Mjolnir and you look at Hercules' mace, they're about the same size. They were really going for the whole Hercules was the Olympian version of Thor at the time. Now, this handle, as short as it is actually very soft, which makes it a bit of a bear getting it into his hand for the first time. You kind of have to pry his hand open and then slip it in, but sometimes it wants to bend on you really bad. But there you go. Hercules and his mace. The Lion of Olympus is ready for battle. Alright, now size comparisons, not only with each other, but with a couple of other Marvel Legends figures. First of all, even in his having to slouch forward a little bit position, you can see Thor, even at the eye line, is definitely taller than Hercules, and you can see how he stacks up with the Marvel Legends Captain Marvel and the Marvel Legends Psylocke from the Nimrod 3-pack. Here they are with McFarlane Toys, DC Multiverse, Azrael, and Wonder Woman 1984. Hercules is a little shorter, but I don't know. Thor, you could maybe fudge into this line. Here they are with G.I. Joe Classified Snake Eyes and Cobra Infantry Trooper. Here they are with Lanyard Toys, City Hunter Predator, and Xenomorph Drone. And to pair them up with something with some real substance, here they are with the Marvel Select Thanos. And finally, here they are with Jazzware's Wicked Cool Toys, Spartan Collection, Master Chief, and Cat. So obviously I'm more partial to the Thor figure than I am to the Hercules figure. And I am very aware that I gushed over it, and that I am completely biased about it. There are some things that I wish were different about it. For instance, I wish that his hair was a little bit softer, and you could get more movement, more articulation out of his head. To me, that's a big thing, because he can't look up, and he's a flying character, and flying characters should always be able to look up. Second, as much as I think the cape looks great in its detail and its sculpt and the shading, it is very heavy, and it does throw the figure off balance. That I wish it was either A, just a straight cape that was coming down, and it wasn't sort of swooshed over to the side, so maybe it wouldn't drag him to the side, or B, they would have just put a cloth cape on him with a wire to begin with. But that really wasn't Marvel Legends at the time. Heck, I don't even think that's Marvel Legends now. I do think Thor looks great, though, and I do love that I have him, and he is definitely going to be part of my display for the Mighty Thor 126. Now, Hercules, on the other hand, Hercules I think is pretty solid. There are a few things that I wish were different about him. Mainly, I wish his happy face didn't look quite so drunk. That's not really a problem, that's just a little nitpick. Most of the issues that I have with Hercules are nitpicks. Like, I wish that the legs had some hair painted on them to match his chest. I wish that the skin tone on his ankles and his sandals was a little bit better matched with the rest of his legs. And I wish that his ab feature, his ab crunch feature, was more like Thor's and not just that hinge in the middle of his stomach. That's real ugly to me. It's not a deal breaker. I just think they could have done better on that. I do have to admit right off the bat, though, that these two boys look great together. They were a great team back in the 80s and the early 90s. Hercules was in almost every issue of Thor. They were brothers in arms. I don't think they have that going on anymore. I don't really read the Thor comics anymore, unfortunately. And I do miss that. I do miss that camaraderie the two had between them. And I kind of wish they would bring that back. I kind of wish they would have had that in the MCU, but I doubt we're ever going to get to see that now. Thor, the 80th anniversary, he is hard to find. I lucked out. There was a table right up front when I walked into RetroCon. It was literally the middle of the table. It was the first thing I bought. And I just walked in, I saw it, and within 5 minutes I made my first purchase. So if you like the 80th anniversary Thor, good luck finding one, because it took me about a year before I was able to find one and luck out on that. Hercules, on the other hand, is available for sale on the Marvel Pulse website. I don't know if he's up for sale on Big Bad and Entertainment Earth. I honestly don't know. I just put my pre-order in on Pulse and waited. But if you've been waiting for this Hercules, this version of Hercules, a really good version of this version of Hercules, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. A lot of the things that I had issues with, I know are nitpicks, and a lot of them are personal preferences. I think they could have done better, but I do think he looks really, really good. And if you have Thor and any type of comic book Thor, you definitely want to have this Hercules to put right next to him. So that's what I have for you today, and truthfully, that's what I'm going to have for you for pretty much the next couple days, because it's Thanksgiving, and as of the time of this recording, I have to get the house cleaned and get the house ready, because I have family coming and staying over, so you're probably not going to hear from me again until after Thanksgiving, maybe something on Saturday, I don't know. Also, at the time of this recording, the second half of Revelations premiered. I might watch it, I might not, I don't know. If I do watch it, I might make a video for it, but truthfully, I'm not that excited about it. I'm more excited about these boys than I am about Revelation, and these boys were definitely worth the wait, they were definitely worth getting. And I have some more that we might be able to take a look at that are going to go in with this display. So until then, play well everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for watching.